The big clap. Go to the doctor if you have the clap, kids.
Detective Davenport Credenza here, investigating the big
that's what I was
clap
just saying last night. That was one of the things, was the Davenport Credenza. That was so stupid. But anyway, okay. Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Ike from Flipside Music, and welcome to What the F.A.Q. Season 3, Episode 21.
Yep.
And I'm here, as always, with
Dylan.
the lovely Dylan.
Yeah, we're on our last several videos here, probably.
Yeah, we got a little time.
Well, that's why I said several, but last several.
Yes, true.
But yeah, no, everything has been taking longer than we think it will. So
yeah, I kind of got in the building, looking around, trying to get things organized and figured out. So hopefully we can get in there sooner than later. But actually, we got some permits and stuff we got to get for build out things, and everything's still a little bit shut down. So
if I brought the laptop at some point, we could do one over there pretty easy.
Oh, yeah, bring the laptop and a little webby cam.
Well, that or even just, we could do that, or even
sit behind the desk. Hello, welcome to the newscast.
That would actually be pretty great. I'm not wearing any pants.
We're in the wind is out of the west at 74 miles. We can get Andy,
Right,
from Reverend.
Yeah.
He sounds like the weatherman.
Yeah, it's so weird that he's not Andy from Pro Guitar Shop anymore. Like in my head, he still is, but
oh yeah, I agree. With his curly locks.
Yeah.
And finger playing.
Yeah, it's kind of cool though with the way he does, because I think he was one of the first guys. The only thing I think that does though is I've noticed, like, if you ever try to use any of his settings for things, because like one day I left it on just up front, and I tried, like, one customer was trying a couple of the settings, and I was really noticing he has to use a lot more treble than you would, because he doesn't have that pick attack.
Right.
So it's like he uses a lot more treble than you would think. So
yeah, I can get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still a pretty killer player.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Well, he's got a pretty unique style. Look
at
Richie Kotzen. He plays with this,
right.
So, all right, sorry, we got sidetracked. We didn't even get out the gate this time. We just went off the rails.
That's what happens when we're sleep deprived.
Yeah, it's tired Saturday morning here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start out with Andy Dion, who says, thoughts on Digitech Freqout? She's a freak. Wow, cow. She's mate. Let it all hang out.
It's funny. I've used it only like when customers have brought it in on trade. It seems pretty cool. I mean, I like it. I mean, that to me, like a lot of it all kind of stems from like little chunks they've chopped off of the whammy. Yeah. So, like they've had a few different ones. They had the Freqout. They had one that was just like. And actually, I guess I think it was like the tune, or I can't remember, the D-tune or something, but it would let you basically just...
The tuna?
Something like that. But yeah, it was the one that would let you just do the pitch shift for tunings, then there was the one that was just the octaves, and then there was like, I think the Freakout's the weird one that, if I remember right.
For me, it's not for me.
Yeah,
it's a cool pedal. It's just not anything that I would ever use.
Well, I think stuff like that comes in handy for like guitar players, especially if you're in a band with more than one guitar player, and you want to just have some weird thing to do.
Yeah,
like a weird Freqout. There you go.
So Freqout.
Yeah. So if you wanted to just have a weird Freqout, like that would be kind of what that's for. I feel like, or even honestly, like even doing odd harmonies can be pretty fun with some of that pitch shifting stuff. So like even if you only do it for one line of a few songs, it's still kind of fun to throw in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an always on thing. It's
not
something you're going to use all the time, because some of those things, after a while, it just gets like, okay, I get it.
Right, and some of them can get a little weird, like, like even the perfect fifth setting on like the pitchfork, like it's a fun harmony, but if you do it in the wrong spot, you instantly sound like you're trying to cop some weird like Chinese film from like the 50s. Yeah, because all of a sudden it'll just take on that weird, slightly, Eastern sound, so.
So, cool pedal, I mean...
Yeah, cool pedal, but used sparingly.
Yeah, if you could pick it up, inexpensively somewhere, it's definitely something to play around with. But, it's one of those ones that may end up on the shelf, and then just if you're recording something or have an idea, you use it. Right. Kind of one of those deals.
Right.
All right. Ben Coombs, our preferred Canadian YouTuber, says, how crucial is it to have an earthquake or rainbow machine on your gigging pedalboard?
So okay, so that
literally just adds. It's not. It's not crucial at all.
No, but again, if you want to just get weird, That's the pedal.
Man, get weird, bro.
Well, yeah, like it's that, like that, yeah. Well, because everybody should get weird from time to time, but that one is like king of the weird. King of the weird. That's very accessible.
Yeah, I mean it's a super cool pedal.
Yeah.
There again.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, how many things have magic knobs?
Yeah.
Like actual magic knobs.
But is it crucial for your gigging pedal board? I don't think so.
No.
Unless you're playing.
If you're in like a psych band or something, yeah.
Then yeah, but I think I would say for probably 95 or higher percent of guitar players that are gigging, it's probably.
Pro tip with that one: use a volume pedal and expression pedal together with that one, because it'll get even weirder. Because that one's very. How's it, my buddy? Checking in. That one's very sensitive to input volume. So if you use a volume pedal and kind of vary that a bit, it's pretty fun. It gets really weird.
Don't use them at the same time because it makes for an unbalanced situation.
Well, you can kind of, if you alternate one off and on.
Yeah. Standing on both of the same.
Well,
really
you can't stand, but yeah, that would be weird. Yeah.
That's
that would be
a pro tip. I'm sure there's some dipshit out there.
Well, not many people know that that's what B.B. King was doing that whole time, was using one expression pedal and one volume pedal as he was sitting. Yeah. Little known fact. Nobody knows what they were controlling, but that's what they were.
But he was doing.
That's what he was doing.
Okay, so there you go.
He was like, maybe he was doing the bass beat for the drummer.
That's entirely possible. All right. So Nothing Here asks, rank the classic fuzz pedals from best to worst. Maestro, Tone Bender, Fuzz Face, Octavia, Super Fuzz, Big Muff Pie. This is your wheelhouse.
Well, that's tough.
Dylan's the master of fuzz.
I mean, I would say in today's world, the Big Muff reigns supreme. I would say that's the most copied one, or the most, all of them are copied, but
all of them are. But I mean, the Fuzz Face and the Big Muff are probably the two that are the most.
Cool thing though, the Super Fuzz is making a real comeback.
Well, I played that one that Ian brought us.
Right.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
That was a great fuzz.
Yeah, the real Super Fuzzes are amazing. The Hyper Fuzz from Boss, that one's always obviously been super popular.
Yeah, we got those.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome.
The last two we had that came in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, yeah,
he got one, and he took the first one.
Yeah, well, the first two we had come through here sold in like a day. Yeah. So it was like one of those things that was like they weren't going to last, but.
And we haven't seen one since.
No.
Since I got mine, we haven't seen one.
No, that is true. Yeah. Well, yeah, but they've gotten like even more popular since then. So
we were ahead of the curve. We knew.
Yeah. Well, it was fun to get that one because that was the one I always thought that was the coolest looking one. I know it's just silver, but I still think in terms of the Boss pedal, because all the other Boss pedals are all those pastel colors. Yeah. It's kind of fun. Ziggy, what'd you find over there?
She's like, I'm
sniffing boxes. Okay. But yeah, I would say the Octavia probably, I would say just goes down on the bottom of the list only because you can't use it all the time.
Right.
It's another sparingly used one. So I would put that one on the bottom.
Tone Benders are really cool, and the new Boss, I can't wait to get the new Boss Tone Bender.
Yeah.
Those should be in hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one too that I feel like does need to make a comeback, but at the same time, I don't know, like, pedal design necessarily, but it seems like any of the guys I've ever talked to have a harder time dealing with tone benders than like Fuzz Faces and Big Muffs. So like whatever does go on with the transistors with those, I don't know if it's because you have like the 2 transistor model and then you have the 3 transistor model. So I don't know what the major differences are in terms of why it's so much more complicated to try to really nail that one. But I feel like that one's the not overlooked one. It's the one that's least represented in like the current market.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some that are kind of making it, but even like the Keeley, it's like that one's not actually really a tone bender. I mean, they put the Bender name on it, but it's really not. Yeah, so it's like it's one of those ones that gets in that ballpark. But yeah, in terms of
modern. So what about a modern variation?
Well, I was gonna say the tone bender.
Well, of any of the what's your best modern reissue
for each one of those?
The top choice. So what's your top choice out of that list?
Well, Big Muff, I'd say Stomp Underfoot, like hands down. Just any of his Big Muffs.
That's how I was gonna go.
Yeah,
like the Ram's Head, probably.
Yeah, the Ram's Head is amazing.
That one, the Tri-Pi's killer.
Yeah,
the Demogorgon.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. The Green Russian. Well, that one's kind of a best of both worlds because you're getting a little Tri-Muff and a little Green Russian with that one. Yeah, but I mean, Stomp Underfoot, I would say for sure. There's other, obviously like the Pharaoh from Black Arts is one of the departures from
70s.
Yeah.
Silicon Fuzz is a good one too.
Yeah, those are all kind of in that wheelhouse. In terms of fuzz faces, I actually really love the Ren and Cuff Your Face.
Yeah.
And honestly, the more I play fuzz faces, I don't know if any of you guys feel like this, but the more I play them, the less I feel like I understand fuzz faces. Because it's like they're all wildly different. Like any of them that people make, they're all wildly different. Mm-hmm. And so it's like that's one I've always had a hard time. Like when I hear Big Muff, I know it's a Big Muff. When I hear a Super Fuzz, I know it's a Super Fuzz. Like fuzz faces are those ones where like, depending on who made it and what they
got
use.
A wider
Yeah, like depending
range.
on who made it and what they use. Because like, to me, like it's still mystifying that like Eric Johnson uses a fuzz face, but his is like extraordinarily tight. Mm. And then you have like Hendrix where it was, that was where like a good part of his thickness on the Strat was coming from. So those are the ones I feel like are harder to find the good. But the Your Face is definitely my favorite of that. The Octavia.
I like the Octavia, but it's just, like you said, it's not an always.
Right.
You can't always use it.
Right.
Lead stuff.
Yes.
So there's Yeah,
the Super Fuzz in terms of the modern market, the Frederick effects, super unpleasant companion, because not only do you get the Super Fuzz on that one, but you also get the companion fuzz, which was like this weird circuit without the octave bits that was attached to the Super Fuzz.
More of those.
Yeah,
reminded me.
Because that one's a great one. Honestly, that one's kind of hands down if you're gonna go for a Super Fuzz and the modern stuff, because that one's still boutique. But it's not like crazy. It's just basically the same price as like the JHS
the rest
one.
of this stuff.
Yeah, so it's like it's not crazy expensive, and I think you're getting a more interesting product with that one. And then the Maestro, I would definitely say I really love the fuzz rate from Cattle and Bread.
Yeah,
it's quirky and weird, but it nails. Like when you listen to that thing, it immediately makes you want to play like those old '60s riffs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that one would definitely be there. And then Tone Bender, I mean, there's just, again, like we were saying, that one's kind of hard to nail, so.
And we'll see how that Boss one comes out. Just, ask us again once that happens. We'll do a video on that anyway, so.
Right. Yeah.
I have to. All right, let's move on to the last question because it's hot as shit in this room.
It really is a melting. It's like
I'm
weird.
like, all right, man, let's get this done because it's hot. All right, so Pete Fritz asks, he's got like 3-4 questions here, so we're going to try to run through them relatively quick.
Okay.
When setting up a pedal board, what are the basics you need to think about when you order your pedals?
Okay.
So your basic order.
Yeah, your basic signal chain. Your basical signal chain.
Basicals. You want to ride these basicals. Tuner.
Well, yeah. I mean, tuning, you could really put that anywhere if you wanted to, but a lot of people do put it up front. Yeah, I mean, usually wahs and compressors both like to have a wide open signal. So like wahs and compressors definitely up front. Then you get in, usually most people then get into like, if you're going to have a univibe, usually you would put it, like vibratos and univibes you usually put up front. Phasers you can kind of do in the back or the front. So that's up to you. But I'd say modulation generally goes after the gain stages. So it would be like compressors, wahs, gain stages, and then your modulation. And that's generally how people go. But there's no like hard, fast rule because honestly, if you find the thing that works for you, who gives a shit what everybody else is doing?
Right, it's just the general, general rule of thumb.
Yeah, so that would be the general way to start. Yeah, I would start
wah, drive, fuzz, then your modulation, which is phaser, delay.
Well, and then even the fuzz, it also depends, like we were getting into, like if you're doing a fuzz face, you probably want it way up front. If you're doing a big muff, they're a little more flexible. It just really depends on what you're going for. Yeah, what your current setup is, but yeah, generally wahs, compressors, gain stages, modulation.
Yeah, and then you'll also have, do I put delay last or do I put reverb last?
I think it's always delay into reverb because
that's the reverb. That's the way I've always done it.
Well, but to me it makes sense because of the amps. That was the way it was always done with the old amps, and then the other reason would be because the reverb gives space for the delays to kind of descend into. Right. So to me, they kind of become one and the same if you have delay running into reverb. Whereas if you do the other way, it gets really, I feel like it just gets super muddy having reverb. Especially if you do like a plate style reverb into a delay, it just turns into a
mess.
Yeah. So
I usually keep reverb.
Number 2 was just recommend a pedal board for those who don't want to make one. I think Voodoo, I mean, right now, if on the standard market.
I mean, you got Pedal Train, it's been around for a long time. I like the Voodoo Labs, the
Dingbats.
The Dingbat series from Voodoo Labs is nice. It's got a nice high density foam padding.
The bag alone is worth it.
The bag's nice. Pedal Train has upped their bag game now.
Yeah.
So they put a better zipper on it, and they've also put a little better padding.
Right.
Those are cool. There's so many other boards out there. Blackbird, I think, is still doing stuff.
Yeah, Blackbird, even Temple.
Creation, Temple.
Yeah.
You know, there's
a lot of solid, but
there's a lot of cool stuff. It all depends on what you want to do and what you need. I mean, even the Gator makes some really nice angled ones. It's just a bent piece of steel and it's solid. And the bags are decent too. So there's a lot of options out there. But I mean, something that's probably easily accessible is either going to be Pedal Train or I would go with the Voodoo Labs. Yeah, because I got a Voodoo Labs.
I don't, but I really wanted one. Yeah, I think I still might make the switch. I'm still using a Pedal Train, but
yeah. I got the Voodoo Labs because actually their new small XL or the EX or whatever they call it. It's just wide enough and long enough for what I want, and like it's perfect size.
Yeah, I think I might switch power supplies so that I could go ahead and put it under. And if I went like with a Zuma and an Ojai instead of the Phoenix, put it under. I think I could fit everything on a Voodoo large, because especially once gigging and stuff. Yeah.
Well, your board's gigantic.
Well, it is, but it's proportionate. Well, because I was thinking about that. Like, if I was like a little dude, I would probably look at my board and freak out because it would look like some heavy pain in the ass thing. But like, my board is pretty much proportionate to my rig and myself.
With your 14, 15-inch speakers. Okay, so moving on. Major difference between an expensive versus cheap pedal board.
Well, I mean, like, if you go super cheap, usually they're warped to shit. They don't hold up that well. The aluminum usually isn't that great, and then even like the really cheap, some of like the Pedal Train knockoff ones, like even the welding spots on those, are awful.
I mean, if you're going to be hammering on that board, those welds could break. So
or even there was one customer that came in and it looked like a Pedal Train. It definitely wasn't. But all of the welding spots had just tons of extra welding material. So it was like you couldn't even use anything on the edges of the board because there was so much just excess goop
on there.
Yeah.
So I would just say, I mean, you could go inexpensive if you want. It depends on your usage.
Well,
if you're at home and you're just building a board and you're not gigging, then an inexpensive board would probably be fine. But if you're going to do any type of gigging at all, or you're going to be playing in church or something or whatever you're going to do, I think you need something that's going to stand up to that.
Yeah, if you're going to get a pedal board, I think you should get it with the intention that you're going to use it every day. Because even if you don't, it should be able to stand up to that. Like a decent pedal board should be able to be used every day.
And you should use it every day.
Yeah, you should use it every day. But if you can't, you should still buy one with the intention that it should be good enough to hold up to being moved and played every day.
Yeah. Okay, so last question in Fritz's question extravaganza is good power supply for a pedal board.
Well, it's funny that we were getting into that.
Ojai, Zuma, Phoenix, Atos, from, like all those are really good.
Yeah, I would say like the Phoenix, Atos, and then any of the Voodoo stuff, if you're not going to put the power supply under the board, those are a good one. The only thing you run into, because they have...
Koiks is good too.
Yeah, what are the toroidal transformers? That's what my brain took me a minute. Toroidal transformers, I think that's how you say it, is what, like, the bigger...
How do you say it?
Toroidal.
Twiddle.
But those can build up some noise if you're running like a vintage style pedal right above the power supply. So like if you have your board and you have your power supply under and you have the pedal, like they're basically making a sandwich. If you have that instance going on, you can get some noise. Yeah, sandwich, actually. But Strymon, the way theirs are, and I forgot what the difference in their transformer was.
Is the quadradral?
Sure. Yeah.
Quadradral.
That was a quadradral. But the transformers on those do not generally build up any noise. So that's why, especially if you're gigging and you don't like noise, then the Zuma and Ojai is pretty tough.
It's a good choice. I mean, you can't beat those. We sell them.
Well, and every jack on it has 500 milliamp supply, and so it's like you really can't beat it for just covering all your bases pretty much.
Yeah, it's worth the dough. You know, I see a lot of people in forums and stuff where they're like, "Oh, I got this power supply from Alibaba or some, you know, really trashy site, Wish or something," and I'm like. And then they complain that there's noise or whatever. It's like, even the one spot stuff, like everybody just thinks a one spot's great, and it's like,
well, yeah, it's like even like when
they're really not that. They serve a purpose.
Right. Well, and as far as we're into this pedal culture now, like it still surprises me that guys come in and will ask like, "Do you have an isolated power supply?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I've got a one spot."
It's not.
And it's like, yeah, like that company makes a good one, but most of the time when people are referring to the one spot, it's just the daisy chain.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not an isolated power.
Just because it's one,
right,
doesn't mean it's isolated.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just one.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's an isolated power supply. So
trying to
tell that to people kind of gets a little
right. Well, and it goes back to me, like if you're going to use it, to me, like guitar stuff. You know, if you factor your entertainment budget, like when's the last time any of you guys went to a movie? Probably at least a year and a half or more now at this point. So if that's the case, like how much money have we all collectively saved on that shit? So it's like if you're gonna be playing, and it's your entertainment, especially through like all this shit, I think it's worth investing a little extra to have less noise, better reliability, all those things. And that's one thing that I know like power supplies aren't like the sexy thing to buy, but
it's a utility, but it's
like if you're gonna take it serious, I feel like that's like even if you're a hobbyist, like I think it's worth the investment if that's your entertainment and that's what you're spending your entertainment budget on. In the grand scheme of things, $150 to $200 is not crazy. So
yeah, I mean, like you said, if you're a hobbyist and you have no intention of playing out, but you play music at home or whatever,
right?
It's just like if you were a woodworker, would you want to buy a bunch of cheap shit tools?
Yeah, that you're just going to replace 50 times.
Yeah, they're not going to have tolerances that are tight, or they're just going to fall apart after. If you want something that's going to be, invest in a good, set of woodworking tools, and then they're going to last, and then they're going to do the same consistent thing all the time.
Right. Well, and they will more than pay.
I've already learned my lesson.
Yes, and they'll more than pay for themselves because they're reliable and they keep.
You only bought it once. You didn't have to buy it 3 times.
Yeah, music gear is very, very much the same thing. Like good amps, good pedals, good power supplies, all that stuff matters. Yeah, all that stuff matters, and like it all. If you buy it once and you spend a little more on it, it's usually, I think it's usually worth it because you're getting something that's reliable and good. You're not just kind of. I don't know, sating you're not just squashing
You're not being a cheap bastard.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, essentially.
You're not being a cheap
exactly.
bastard. Sometimes spend an extra $10 or $50 and get something good that's going to last, and you don't have to worry about it. And you have better resale value anyway.
Right. Well, like I said, like $50. I mean, what is that? Like 2 or 3 movie tickets these days, as expensive as they are after taxes and everything.
Almost a case of beer.
Yeah, so it's like that's really not a big deal if you're going to get more than 2.5 hours of use out of it. That's not a big deal. So.
Yeah. Spread it out over time. All right, I think that's it. And it's hot as shit.
It is. Yeah, we're melting.
Yeah, I'm dying over here, man. All right, so we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and making it this far in. And I'll have some videos up in the next couple weeks about the new building once we start getting all that craziness going on. So that'll be cool. I'm going to have a whole bloggy bit about that.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. And then, definitely hit the notifications if you guys do want to stay up to date with what's going on with the building.
Yeah.
Because that's probably, we'll definitely have social media stuff going on, but I imagine if you guys want to actually see the real scoop, they'll be watching your videos, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, right?
Yep.
All right, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.